today I want to share this it's kind of a raw picture of where we're at. So it's been a crazy day of me and my partner basically just hashing out where the money is going to come from, what we have right now, what we're going to need to keep rolling. Because the reality is, we have about $280,000 of receivables. I've got 250 on this example, but we got about $250,000, let's say, in receivables that we've done the work, and for whatever reason, all 250,000 of those dollars have some silly reason or not silly reason, or we're in payment term days, or past payment term days. It's a whole freaking combination of everything, but they haven't paid yet. And so, given we're already in a hole and we have, $250,000 of receivables, it's really, really hurting. And so, today we've been working, for the last week and a half, but we signed on it today and should fund tomorrow. We got a $150,000 working capital loan, which, it's like $30,000 of interest over 2 years to be able to pay for this. And the depressing part is that pays our credit card bill for 1 month. Our Amex bill right now is about $141,000, and then our payroll is typically around $100,000 a month. And that's obviously there's materials and stuff like that factored in, but that's per job. And so, anyways, right now I'll put this up on the screen. Keep in mind, we closed at 3.7 million last year. And so averaging, that's average of 308,000 a month. And so we have 28 grand in our checking account right now. There's $250,000 that's due into us. Right now we have $492,000 of payables that are vendors and subcontractors. That equals $492,000. And so we have $184,000 on our credit card right now on our American Express, which is what we use for gas, materials, and all that kind of thing. Which that is actually not as high. Typically, that's lately it's been 200, 250. But right now it's at 184. And so, and the credit card company also capped us they did an audit 2 weeks ago and basically capped us at $140,000, which is really bad. That's very, very bad. And because typically we have somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 on that, and it helps us float around. And they just capped it at 140. So technically there's 40 past due on that account, which is also not good. And so between the two of those numbers, we have $676,000 of money, that most of which is due right now, or it's past due. Some of it's probably a third of it's 60 days past due. And then that's outside of a $500,000 EIDL loan with the government, and so that we took out a couple years ago, and that's just coming to start doing payments, now. So that's a lot of money. That's somewhere to the tune of 1.2 million ish dollars, and so right now. You can see I got the 19% number on there. So I have a buddy who actually went bankrupt a couple years ago. And, basically the day that he closed his doors, his payables, or I guess, what he owed, whatever, was at about 24% of what his running rate was per year. And that's just a little bit of a metric. I know it's not the exact perfect, calculation of when you're going to go down, but he was at about 24%. And so the relationship between his payables, amount of payables versus run rate per year. And so he was doing about 1.2 million a year, had about $400,000 of payables. And so the exact numbers actually work out to be about 24%. But if you do the same math with us, we are at 19% right now. And so to give you a perspective of, he went bankrupt at 24%, we're at 19%. To discuss the amount of pain that we're in right now. And so currently our game plan, I have called on a very good friend of mine who's been a mentor for about 4 years. He closed the last year at 55 million. He's in a similar industry, and he said he's willing to help us, lend us advice, coaching, this and the other, and possibly seed us some money, whether he's buying part of my corporation, SCA, or just giving us a loan. I'm not sure yet. Hopefully we can figure it out with just banking. But that is I don't say it's the exact light at the end of the tunnel, but it is a freaking bright light that I can, imagine at the end of the tunnel. And so I think he can definitely help us. He's an incredible human being, and super excited about that. But outside of the $150,000 working capital loan, that will last us about 2 weeks. That'll keep the ball flowing at least till we can get some of these receivables in, hopefully. And we're also, my partner's taking out a $200,000 mortgage on one of his houses, and then also electing to most likely sell another house and loaning that money to the company. And so basically, it's 8% interest on the HELOC he's taking out, and then we'll probably do some interest rate on the house sold. And so, with all of that being said, that'll get us to where at least, of that 676 number, we've got $250,000 in receivables, and so that number is actually like 426 as far as like bad debt that's payable. And I say bad debt, not all of it is, but a lot of it is. But $426,000 will get us back to zero. And so if you were to add $426,000 with the $250 of the receivables we have in, that would zero us out on payments. So that would get us back to zero. Now, we still have the $500,000 loan, but that's a 30-year mortgage at 2.7% interest. It's very low interest. And so that's not exactly a gigantic concern, but to get us back to zero on stuff that, the bad stuff, it's going to take about $450,000 to get us right side back up. And so, the working capital loan will help. The mortgage my partner is going to take out a loan, that's going to help. And so, that's going to really keep us moving. And not only that, but we're also, I think this is in the last video, but there was just kind of a breaking point I had yesterday when, for the umpteenth time, had a customer call me where an engineer miscommunicated, whatever, and something that we did flawlessly. We did the project, everything was great, talked when we should have, did everything right, and it was an engineering flaw, and now the customer thinks we're the ones that robbed them out of a bad project. I'm just really tired of hearing that song. And so I called my marketing person that I've worked with for a long time, not recently, but for a long time, and we have a game plan to basically turn on all the ad sets and recreate the lead funnel system I had for residential drainage. And so basically, my thought process is, a year ago, it was, hey, let's sell a bunch of big jobs because it's easier to do big jobs than small jobs. It's easier to go find them, sell them, and then it's basically just a bunch of little jobs and a big job. But the lie in that is that the risk level is the same. How people treat you is the same. Because when there's 200 grand on the table or more, especially when the biggest one we did was like 680, it's really easy to say like, oh, we're just going to hold the last 25%, which is like $100,000 most of the time, and which is all of your profit margin. And if you did it like us, when you lost money, you're just doing that to get back to zero, and then they hold it for a long time because of some silly thing that, maybe you did mess up on. Maybe you tripped on a rock and it wouldn't have been a big deal unless it was that big of an amount of money. And so take that, for example. Let's say $200,000 is the big job I'm thinking about, which actually, that's not that bad. I would happily do $200,000 jobs. That's great. We're very comfortable with that size now. But if you take, for example, $200,000 project or $10,000, $20,000 projects, I will take the $10,000, $20,000 projects every single day of the freaking week. And especially if they're homeowners, it's like, well, there's homeowner BS to deal with. The husband and wife, they've never done a construction project, this, that, and the other. But all of those problems can be solved with good communication, because you can communicate with the people that are making the decision, the husband or the wife, or the husband and wife. And so relative to, if you're doing a big job where it's engineered, there's a property manager, there's a board of directors, that's a bunch of people. There's typically 5 people on a board of directors. And most of the time, you never get to meet them one time throughout the project. And so you're playing this game of phone where you're whispering into the engineer's ear, he's whispering into their ear, and then the property manager's whispering into the HOA board's ear. And it's a totally different freaking story by the time it gets to anybody. And so regardless of how well you communicate and do everything right and over communicate and go the extra mile, a lot of times that extra mile turns into 100 feet by the time it gets to the end of the phone. And so relative to homeowner jobs where you can actually get there, you can sell the job very easily. It's very easy to sell homeowner jobs. And also you can take a deposit, you get paid immediately. I can go to someone's house, take a check, and then drive to the bank. There's no payment applications, paperwork to fill out, whatever. There's no 30, 60-day terms, right? And again, this might be being impatient with this because we're short on cash and I've been screwed over a lot of times this year. And I will happily admit that it was from naivety from me, and maybe I wasn't good enough. I don't know. I think we did a pretty banging job on most of them, and it was tripping on a twig, and then 600 pounds fell on my back as a result. And so, with that being said, we're going to go back to having a steady flow of, we did 300,000 last year. I think we'll be doing about 300, 350 this year, maybe 400, probably 350. But if we can have our parallel jobs where there's 150 to 200,000 hours a year, 200,000 hours a month, going from our big jobs, which we've got sold, we're going to continue to do those. But we're going to go ahead and start a renewed division that is doing at least 100 to 150,000 hours a month of small drainage jobs that are consistent, they're easy, they're duplicatable, they're repeatable, and we make a lot of money on them because we're good at them and our guys can do them. The lowest level of guy we have, which I still think is a pretty good guy, can go there, do it with no problems. And so that's currently what we're going to do. I'm going to keep you guys up to date, see what's going to happen. But this is definitely the lowest, biggest hole that I've ever been in. And, this is not a coaching call. This is what I'm currently planning on trying to do. And I'm going to tell you if it works or not call. So hope this helps. Hope you're in a better place. Please send prayers my way, and I will reciprocate. So hope you guys make a lot of money. Peace.